I'd like to ask Phil Perry a question. That is, what is your grade for Patriots front office boss Elliott Wolf so far and for this season?
Ooh. I would say C. I'm giving him a C.
That feels better than some of the other grades we've heard this week.
You have to, in my opinion, start at the very least with a B.
Nope. No, we don't. We don't have to start with a B at the very least, Andrew Callahan. No. I reject that.
That's full volume.
Yeah. I'm not starting at a B. I like your C. I'm going a little lower. I'm going like D+. Yeah. I like
D+?
Yeah. Because I don't give this front office a lot of credit for Drake Maye. I don't want to do it.
Okay.
I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a hard pick to make. I don't think there was a hard decision involved. I don't think there was a lot of scouting that was necessary to know that it would be a good idea to take that player. And I'm not even sure that their bosses, because they do have a boss, Robert, Jonathan, I'm not sure their bosses would have let them move that pick. I'm not convinced of it. I know there were a lot of reports swirling and flying at the time. I'm not sure they would have allowed it, and I'm willing to bet that they look at the draft and say, these guys started with Jalen Polk. That was their first real pick. That was the first decision we let them go after and make. And I don't know that one looks good right now either.
No.
Two players who...
You don't know if it looks good right now? I would say...
Well, I'm saying I don't know if that's going to work out. It looks really bad right now.
It looks bad now.
We know that. But it may not rebound and may not work out.
I mean, either way, I think their asses are on the clock now, based on the way Drake has played. And I'm with you, Phil, and you said it this week. Why wait till next year? Get him help now. He's the guy. He's shown you he's the guy. You now know through 3 games this is going to get better with him. And it's also probably going to save some jobs offensively. The better he plays, the more chance they stay.
You get the right guy can save your entire organization. It's just a lot to ask, and in my opinion, it's a little bit unfair to be asking that already of a 22-year-old kid who played 26 starts in college.
I agree.
And so they are lucky that he's as good as he is. They are lucky that in a draft where they needed a quarterback, there just so happened to be 3 pretty good ones that everybody perceived as being pretty good. And I'm with you, Beetle. Ownership might have never allowed them to move out of that spot and not take a quarterback in a 3-quarterback draft. I think the only reason why I probably give them a little bit more credit when it comes to drafting Drake Maye than you do is there were a lot of people that were thinking this was not the right time for a quarterback, regardless of who that quarterback is. And the situation is so bad that you're throwing this kid, whoever he is, into an impossible spot. And those people weren't wrong about the situation. It's a bad situation. My contention was always, if you like the quarterback and you believe in the quarterback, you take the quarterback. And so, and the guy I worked most closely with, Tom Curran, was one of those people who was saying trade back and turn that pick into 2 picks and maybe even 2 first-rounders. Maybe you get a tackle and a receiver and you plug along with Jacoby Brissett for a year, and then next year, there'll be a Jaden Daniels next year. There's not. We're just talking this week about the draft and how that thing looks, and we could talk about that more in depth if you guys want to, but it looks like this is not going to be a good year to have the number 1 overall pick. Like, period. Not only is there maybe not a number 1 overall quarterback, and there's still about half the season to go in college, there might not be a number 1 overall type of player in this draft. And the one guy who seems to qualify right now is sort of a hybrid half corner, half receiver. And he might be great at both. But the Patriots don't need a corner. They need a legit number 1. And that guy, Travis Hunter, I'm not sure if he sort of profiles in that sort of mold. So anyway, long story short, I do give them some credit because there was a path to them moving out of that pick and maybe making the team a little bit better in a different way.
Well, maybe that's why you're giving them a C.
A C. I'll go C. I mean, the free agent misses have been obvious. Do you give him any credit for any of the in-season moves? Like Ben Brown 2 weeks ago, I think we all would have looked at that and said, hey, not a bad find.
I do.
And now 2 weeks later, we're all like, no, it kind of is what we thought it was.
Oh, yeah, I do give him credit for that.
I give them more credit for moving on from Leverett than I do the situation of signing Brown. Like, all right, hey, you cut your losses there. It wasn't working. But they're in this spot because they didn't do enough in the offseason. They just didn't. And I can come up with 2 names that they've added to the roster that were not here. And we came up with Austin Hooper and Joey Sly. Are additions they made not the draft, because they didn't really get much in the draft beyond Drake Maye. We've come up with Hooper and Sly, guys that have had a positive impact on games this season that were brought in from the outside by this team.
Okorafor and Osborne and the ability to keep
What a list.
Taekwon Thornton is the killers for those three. That's what brings your grade down.
Any
Hooper and
credit for
Sly.
Jacoby Brissett?
So Zoe brought that up, and a guy who gets benched after 5 games? I mean, what are we doing?
But you get credit for understanding the role.
Like what? For $8 million and a backup quarterback, you could have plugged anybody.
Oh, they were hell bent
after
on
5
they were
games.
hell bent on starting him though. Yeah, come on.
What did he do? Did he help the development of Drake Maye?
I think he's probably contributing in some way, shape, or form.
Showed him how to be a pro.
Oh, I mean, I'm
I think
sorry.
the way he handled the job.
I didn't mean to be like, did he himself? In the sense that all he did was create a bigger roadblock for Drake Maye starting because they liked him so much. I didn't mean to imply that he was not helping Drake Maye, because I do believe he probably has in some
Sure.
regards, and he's a pro and has probably been a great example for Drake Maye on how to be a pro. So I'm not talking about him personally. I'm saying his presence here.
Yeah, I'll give them a little bit of credit for Jacoby Brissett because there was, again, in an alternate universe, are they bringing in Gardner Minshew instead? And how does that look? Gardner Minshew hasn't been able to fight off Aiden O'Connell in Vegas, right? God. I mean, it's been rough out there for him. So, and the flip side of that is, well, couldn't they have maybe made a move for Sam Darnold? Because that guy looks like he's pretty damn good. He was available.
Yeah. Yeah, Sam Darnold been interesting. Yeah.
So it's just all leading me to this, which is you say they're on the clock, Zoe, because Drake Maye looks like he can play, and that to me is important. The timeline should be expedited. You have to do everything you can in the here and now to make sure, and again, the deadline's passed, you're not doing a whole lot in terms of adding free agents, but this offseason it's obvious. But it's so critical to their job prospects moving forward. Elliott Wolf, that entire front office. It really all comes down to this offseason and how much can you do to show real progress and be a 7, 8, 9 win team off of whatever this year ends up being.
I do think that Drake's play is putting more pressure on everyone involved because you now see it, and when it's live and it's real, you say, oh, this kid can play, and you guys haven't put anything around him, and now, as Zoe and I have been saying, the clock is ticking. You don't get extra time. If you're not good, you've got to go because you've now got the quarterback on the rookie deal. You've got that piece figured out. It doesn't solve any of the other problems on the team just because you found the quarterback. Right. I agree with that. That doesn't solve your problems.
I'm staring at those 2 receivers and those 2 offensive linemen you drafted.
But what it does, that the presence of that particular player at that position should, and I think already has, started to create urgency.
I hope
urgency
so.
To be
I
better.
hope so.
That's what it's supposed to do.
One thing I would say is, not that he solves every other problem that you have on the roster. He does, in my opinion, really help the offensive line. Yep. Has the offensive line gotten better from the time Jacoby Brissett went to the bench and Drake Maye came in as the starter, or did Drake Maye? Yeah, they're the same people. They have the same level of ability.
Take those 95 yards away and say, okay, you got to stay in the pocket. How those plays end?
So, and that to me is going to be an interesting factor when it comes to roster building for this team moving forward. Am I as hot for a left tackle at the top of the draft this coming off season as I am a receiver after watching Drake Maye turn this offensive line and make them somewhat serviceable in pass protection? I'm not. I would be looking at the receiver. If there's a receiver out there, especially after watching Jamar Chase, a guy that the Bengals took over Penei Sewell, and that was like a real conversation at the time. That guy just dominated one of the best teams in the NFL.
It was awesome last
night, and put them in a position to actually win that game.
How's the receiver group for this year coming out? Because like the Marvin Harrison group with Rome Odunze, Polk, all these guys, the kids from LSU, they were elevated highly. It was early in last year. I'm just not hearing receiver names this year.
It's a tough year, Zoe, for the Patriots
to
want and need what they want and need, because based on initial conversations that I've had with people who know this stuff a lot better than I do at this point, the high-end talent at quarterback and at receiver and even at tackle is just not what it was last year.
Oh, great. Awesome. Good news for Elliott.
Trade out.
Good news.
Hey, if you like that clip, check out more videos from Zolak and Bertrand right here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.